Now we're going to create our first grass cluster using OneGrass engine. Before we do that, you need to install OneGrass engine into your engine and add that into your project. And also it's really useful if you open the example map, so then you have access to the OneGrass engine content. Just go through the documentation if you haven't done so. Then open your place actors tab. It could be anywhere in your window, and then search for OneGrass. So now we have OneGrass card maker. So drag that into your scene. Right, now go to the details panel. Right, now I'm gonna quickly go through this menu and I'm gonna create a glass cluster quickly, but after that I'm gonna explain each of these parameters in detail. First, now we need to input an atlas to this place. So here inside our OneGrass engine content directory, we have atlases, and here we have a couple of atlases. I'm gonna choose slender. Right, first we have this opacity texture, the black one. Drag that into the first slot, and then we have base color. We can grab the base color. Likewise, we can grab the normal and the roughness. Right, then I'm gonna hit segment now. So now I have a box like this. So basically it will show these individual segments in this atlas. So I can hit this show next segment button and go through all these segments. Now our idea is align these segments into the center. So you can manually change that using these Control, Shift and rotate, but here we have an option called auto transform all. I can click that and it will automatically transform every segment into the center. But if you look at carefully, there's a one segment over here, it's upside down. Unfortunately, right now it's really hard to determine that, so you need to manually intervene. In this case, I need to flip this segment. What I have to do is enable this checkbox called flip and then hit auto transform. So it will transform the segment correctly. Now all my segments are aligned. Now I can scatter them. Here in the scattering section, so I can simply hit scatter now. So it will do something like this. So there are some options over there. I'm not going to go through them right now, but instead I'm going to put number of times we need to scatter, 20 times, 20 items, and we need to have 2 rows. Okay, then I'm going to hit scatter now. Right, now we have a scattered texture like this. Okay, that looks great. Then I'm gonna go to the next section called single card maker. So I can hit this make single card. I can focus on there. Right, now we have a single card out of these scattered segments. Right, this is pretty good. Then I need to create a grass cluster. I can again select this card maker actor and scroll to the bottom. Now I have the card cluster maker. So here by default we have some configuration. Without going through this right now, I'm going to hit this make card cluster button. Right, then I have a cluster of cards like this. Then I can play the game. So cool. Then I need to bake this card cluster into a place I like. Okay, so that's where the baking section is. So here I can give some directory to bake, so it will be available on the content directory here. So here by default it's going to save that into my grass directory. Okay, that's fine with me. I'm going to hit bake mesh. So now you can see this tool is created the directory called my grass on the content directory. I can go into that, and now we have the static version of my grass cluster. I can drag that in the scene, and that's exactly what we need. So I'm going to delete this right now. Then I'm going to open this SM my grass. Here now you can see, even though this grass looks pretty great, it's quite low poly, like around 216 triangles, right? Then I think I can even reduce this triangle count. So here you can go to the LOD settings of this static mesh and select the LOD group to foliage. Okay, click yes, that's fine. And then give the number of LODs you want, like let's give it 4, and simply hit apply changes. Right, now I can see LOD 0 here. Then I can scroll this down. I can see as I move further, my LODs are changing and the triangle counts are quite low, like 26 triangles, and that's pretty cool. So now we have an extremely low poly grass cluster, but it's looking pretty great. Right, I'm gonna save this, and it will be a good idea to go to file and save all. So it will save all the textures you can see over here. Right, now we have created this grass cluster, but I have skipped through some of the settings. Now let's see what we can do there. Right, let's click this actor again. So now we have here atlas segmentation. So basically we have the input atlas. We have multiple textures, opacity, base color, normal and roughness. And then based on those things, we gonna create individual segments. Actually, we only check at the opacity texture. By looking at them, we're gonna segment these into multiple segments. And then here we have shift, rotate and scale options. Let's scale this twice, apply settings, and you can see something like this. It's obviously not good, but you get the idea. Likewise, you can do rotate, shift and so on. If I don't want these segments to be included in scattering, all I have to do is click ignore segment and hit the apply settings button. Usually you don't have to manually change this rotation and shift. All you have to do is just click the auto transform all button. It will try to transform all these segments in a decent manner. In this case, for example, here, as I mentioned earlier, we need to like flip this grass upside down. In order to do that, I can click this flip checkbox and simply hit auto transform and it will do the thing for us. Right now we know how the segmentation works, so now we can do the scattering. Here we have the number of items in a row, so I can put that into 10. So just to go try this out. And also the scattering rows is one row, so we are only interested in one row right now. So I'm gonna hit scatter now, so it will scatter some grass like this. Okay, now currently the scattering range is from 0.1 to 0.9 like this. Okay, that's okay, but in this case I need to change it. For example, let's say 0.4 to 0.6, so only the center area. I can hit the scatter now button. Yeah, it will do something like this. If you don't like the lighting, also you can go to unlit mode and you have a clear view of what's happening here. So here we have the scattering scale. Basically that's a random scale, so let's try to increase this by, let's say 0.2 to 1.2 maybe, and scatter now. Yeah, we have something like this. And there's one thing, you can put a very high number over here, let's say 2, maybe 2.5. Definitely some of the grass will go out of this context, but that's totally fine. Our algorithm is take care of that for you, because in any case there won't be any clip grass out of this view. So that's something we done inside the algorithm, so that you don't need to worry about. If you're going out of this place, so we are trying to change the scale based on the distance. For example, over there now we can have small grass, so as you can see, so it will change the scale by basically 20%. We can go crazy, like let's put something like 0.8. Now I'm gonna hit scatter now button. Now you can see the grass you can now see over there is quite small, so that's actually done by this scale variance with distance option. So you can play with this value and get the result you really need. So I think I'll stick with this one. Quite not sure this is what I want, but also we have scattered rotation. Just like the scale, we can also change the rotation as well. For example, right now it's just 20. First, let's give some crazy numbers like 60 degrees, and I'm gonna hit scatter now. You can see we have something like this. Also we have some random rotation as well. For example, let's give some very high number over there, so we have some crazy looking grass like this. I don't think this is quite okay. I'm gonna reset that by the default, which is just 10 degrees. So let's say this is the result that we need. All right, then I'm gonna hit the amount of actual grass we need. Let's give 20. Also let's try to like have 2 rows of them, and I'm gonna hit scatter now. Now we have this. All right, looks kind of cool. And then we can hit the make single card button, and it will create a single card out of this. In this case, now I can enable the lit mode. Now we can see something like this. All right, this looks pretty great. So this is pretty cool, but I'm not interested about this bottom section, so I need to cut them. So that's totally possible. So here we have the UV start and end. All I can do is I'm gonna hit the y-axis. So basically in the UV, 0 is start over there, and x-axis goes here and y-axis goes down. So in this case I need to reduce the bottom. All I can do is and set the y end is 0.8 and hit the make single card, and we have something like this. Quite not sure this is what I want, but in the sake of the tutorial, let's accept this is the grass that we need. Also we have the grid card size. So basically that's the poly count of this card. I can turn on the wireframe mode. Right, this is the card that we are seeing here. So right now it has a 3x3 squares. I can put 1, so this is just fine as well. And I'm going to open the lit mode, and still it's looking good. So the problem is how it handle the wind, and that could be quite different compared with the previous. But if you're okay with that, you can totally go with this. And also we can change the scale of the card. I'm not going to do this right now. I'm happy with this. Then we have the card cluster. So I'm gonna go with this default settings, and I'm gonna hit make card cluster. So now we have something like this. All right, I'm not sure this is the best graph that I can create, but let's stick with this. So here are some settings that I want to show you, and let's remove the second one, hit delete. So basically now we have something like this. So here we have the number of items in our grass cluster. So here right now we have 6 items. Let me put back into 4 items, and here we have the radius. So let's give some radius around 60. So now we have more room, and I can show you how this works. I'm going to hit make card cluster, and we have this. So basically we have 4 cards. You can see over there 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so you can increase the number like 6 cards, and you have something like this. And radius is obviously it's the radius, and there's a tilt angle. You can see this is slightly rotated around the center, and now you can control that by using this tilt angle. For example, let's give something like 60, and it will go something like this. Obviously this is not something I want. Also you can put minus values as well, like minus 15, and yeah, it do something like this, and it's quite decent. Also you can change the pivot point. Right now the pivot point of this individual card is the center, but you can shift that by X, Y and Z axis. Let's try to give some random values, and let's see how it works. Yeah, by doing that you can create very interesting grass cluster place. Right, then after that you can always add new items into the cluster, and then try to create more variations into your grass cluster, and you can finally bake them. Let's say I'm happy with this, then I can hit bake mesh button. Since we have a grass here, let's give some my grass too, and I can hit bake mesh. Then if we create a directory in the content directory and my grass too, I can see the grass over here. Right now obviously this is not a best looking grass, but just check for the tutorial. Let's continue. There's one thing you can see, this is already low poly, because the reason is we have only selected 1 as the grid size, and there is no way we can reduce any more triangles from this. Of course you can try. You can select the LOD group into foliage and hit the number of LODs you want for, and apply changes. It will reduce a little bit. It only have 2 LODs, 0 and 1. Pretty cool. And I'm gonna save and close this. And in the baking section there are some other options that's called material overrides. So if you look at the static grass over there, and we have the textures, and also we have this material instance. I can double click on that. Now I can see all the options there. In G we can change the color of my grass. For example, let's give it a reddish tone like this. Yeah, quite not sure this is what I want, but you can do that. Also you have a couple of options like variations and so on. By using the material override section, you can actually bake them right into the material instance. You don't need to open the material instance. If you know the value, you can play with this value and directly change that into the material instance. For example, I can hit the bake mesh, and if you go to the default settings over there, and here in the tint can give it like a yellowish tint like this, and I'm going to hit bake mesh, and you can see it will turn into yellow. Yep, like this. And likewise there are some other options, and you can check the documentation for all these settings. Right now I think now you have a very clear idea of how you can create a cluster of grass using one grass engine, and you can see there are unlimited variations that you can make with this one, and it's quite low poly and still is looking quite nice. All right, and let's see you with another tutorial. Bye.